Hey, welcome to The Explainer. This is where we take big, complex ideas and make them simple. Today, we are diving deep into something a lot of us think about building wealth. We're going to look at financial expert Jaspreet Singh's step by step guide to becoming a millionaire.
So, Jaspreet kicks things off with this super simple formula. Seriously, it's just math. But here's the twist, and this is so important. He says the real secret to getting rich isn't saving. Nope, it's investing. Think of it this way. Savings are your safety net, for emergencies. But your investments, that's the engine that actually builds your wealth for the long haul.
All right, so here's the game plan for today. We're going to walk through these 6 steps, one by one. Think of it as our roadmap to getting you on the path to financial freedom. Okay, first step, let's get right into the foundational concept. This is really the core idea behind everything else we're going to talk about. And this quote right here, this is everything. It's actually why Jaspreet named his whole brand Minority Mindset. See, he's saying that if you want to be successful with money, you literally cannot do what most people do. You have to break away from the herd and start thinking like the small minority who are actually winning the game. All right, let's move on to step 2, because you can't build a massive skyscraper, your wealth, on a shaky foundation, right? You need something solid, something unbreakable to build upon. And this chart just lays it all out, plain and simple. The difference in thinking is just it's night and day. Most people are stuck in this hamster wheel, right? Living paycheck to paycheck, just focused on making it to the end of the month. But the minority mindset, they're playing a completely different game. They're thinking years, even decades ahead. So what does building that foundation actually look like? Well, Jaspreet says there are 2 things you have to do right now. No excuses. First, you've got to build up a small emergency fund. We're talking at least $2,000. Second, you need to go to war with your high-interest debt. I'm talking credit cards. That stuff is like financial cancer. It's actively eating away at your wealth every single day. Okay, get ready for this number because it is absolutely insane. It shows you the true devastating cost of credit card debt. Let's say a 21-year-old takes the average debt, about $6,200, and instead of paying interest on it, they invest it. Now, if they got a 20% return, which is basically what the credit card companies are charging you, it could balloon to over $22 million by retirement. Now, look, is a 20% return realistic for you? Probably not, but that's not the point. The point is to show you the mind-boggling amount of money you're literally handing over to the bank instead of building for yourself. It's wild. Okay, so you've built your foundation, you've got some savings, you're tackling that debt. What's next? It's time to build a money machine. A system that works for you automatically in the background, building your wealth while you're just living your life. And here's the system he recommends, the 75-15-10 rule. And I love this because it's so simple. Every single time you get paid, the money automatically gets split up. 75% goes to your spending, rent, food, fun. 15% goes directly to your investments, and 10% goes into savings. You set it up once and it just works. That automation is the key to building wealth without even trying. But how do you keep that 75% for spending under control? Well, Jaspreet has this brilliant little mind trick. He calls the rule of 5. It goes like this. For anything you want to buy that isn't a necessity, a new watch, fancy sneakers, whatever, ask yourself this one question. Can I afford to buy 5 of them? If the answer is no, well then you can't really afford to buy one. It's a super simple way to keep yourself honest. All right, your foundation is solid, your money machine is humming along. Now it's time to pour some gasoline on the fire. It's time to accelerate. And that means 2 things, making more money and protecting the money you've already made. So how do you make more money? He says there are basically 2 main paths you can take. First, you can crush it at your current job. Don't just do your work. Find ways to actually make the company more money. Then go ask for a piece of that profit you created. The second path, start something on the side. Take the skills you already have, maybe you're a great writer or an accountant, and start a side hustle. Either way, you're pumping up the income part of that wealth formula we talked about at the beginning. But listen, making money is only half the battle. You have to protect it. Jaspreet tells this crazy story about how he learned this the hard way. A tenant tried to sue him over a bathtub they claimed was slippery. But he was fine. Why? Because he had these 3 layers of protection. First, his properties were held in an LLC, not his personal name. Second, he had the right insurance. And third, he had a professional management company that kept records of everything. That lawsuit went nowhere. It's a perfect example of why this stuff is so critical. Okay, this next idea, this is where the wealthy really play a different game than everyone else. It's about seeing an economic crisis not as something to be afraid of, but as one of the biggest opportunities you'll ever get.
So here's the question. Why do recessions create more millionaires than any other time? And the answer is actually really, really simple. It's because when everyone else is panicking, amazing assets, we're talking stocks, real estate, you name it, go on a massive fire sale.
And this right here shows you the two completely different reactions. When the market crashes, what does the majority do? They freak out. They sell everything, usually at a huge loss because they're driven by fear. And in doing so, they're basically handing over their wealth to the minority. The minority is waiting on the sidelines with cash, and they use logic, not emotion, to buy up all those amazing assets for pennies on the dollar.
All right, for our final step, Jaspreet kind of brings it all home. He puts all this talk about money into its proper place. Because at the end of the day, he says being rich financially is only one piece of a much bigger puzzle.
He has this framework he calls the quadrafit theory, and I think this is fascinating. He shows it as a pyramid with 4 levels. But here's the kicker. Money isn't at the bottom. It's not the foundation. It's actually at the very top. And you have to build this pyramid from the ground up. The foundation, the base of everything, is your physical health. A healthy body supports a healthy mind, right? That's your mental fitness, your relationships. With a strong mind, you can then find your purpose, what he calls your spiritual fit. And then finally, at the very top, you have financial fitness. That's the fuel that gives you the freedom to live out all those other parts of your life. I love this quote. It just perfectly sums up his entire philosophy. Think about it. Money is like high-octane fuel. If you have a great car, a great life, it's going to make the journey amazing. But if your engine is broken, all the premium fuel in the world isn't going to fix it. Money can't fix your health, it can't fix bad relationships, and it can't give you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. So we'll leave you with this final, really powerful question from Jaspreet to think about. It kind of forces you to stop and think about your own life and what you're really chasing. It's the perfect way to frame why we even want financial independence in the first place.